But before he got into the carriage, Mr. Mason said something very strange.
"Look after her, Rochester. Promise to look after her."
"Yes,"
said Mr. Rochester, and his face was very sad.
"I will always look after her."
I wanted to go back to the house and to my bed, but Mr. Rochester put his hand on my arm.
"Don't go yet,"
he said.
"Walk with me for a while."
We walked together in the garden.
"What a night that was,"
Mr. Rochester said.
"Were you afraid, Jane?"
"Yes, I was," I replied. "While I waited for you in the attic, I heard something in the next room. I heard a terrible laugh. Was it Grace Poole, Mr. Rochester? Will she go away now?"
"Don't worry about Grace Poole,"
he said. He did not look at me as he spoke.
"She will not harm you. It is Mason, I fear. I will not be happy until he is back in the West Indies."
"But Mr. Mason is a quiet and gentle man," I said, surprised. "I'm sure that he will do what you tell him."
"No, he'll not hurt me deliberately,"
Mr. Rochester replied.
"but he might say something without meaning to, which would do me great harm."
I was surprised when I heard this. "Then you must tell him to be careful about what he says," I said. Mr. Rochester turned to look at me, and he laughed.
"It is not that simple, Jane,"
he said. We went back into the house together.
This video is about sentence pattern. We have selected 6 questions for everybody to understand more about sentence structure. Let's take a look more deeper. Question number 1. Sophia, could you please read this sentence for us?
Morning, Uncle Stanley. Surely yes. Listen, everyone. But before he got into the carriage, Mr. Mason said something very strange.
Thanks, Sophia. In order to understand the sentence structure, we have to understand where is the noun and where is the main sentence. The first blue color should be
Mr. Mason.
Very good, Sophia. And the first verb, which is color red, is
The word said.
Thanks so much. Mr. Mason said what?
Said something.
Very good. Something. And how about this something? It's
This something is very strange.
the word very strange is telling us more about that something. So that's why it's a yellow. But however, even this sentence is dropped, the phrase very strange. Actually, the meaning is still the same. So this is a solid yellow. Sophia, then how about but before he got into the carriage? What is it?
This is a complete sentence which tells the time of the action, said. So, it's a green. It's an adverbial clause, right?
Bingo, Sophia. This is a sentence, and this sentence functions as an adverb, so it is an adverbial clause. Very good. And then what pattern is it?
It's a pattern 3 sentence because it has a blue-red-blue pattern.
Very good, Sophia. You're right. This is pattern number 3. Then we move on to the next one. Question number 2. Sophia, could you please read this sentence for us?
No problem. Listen. Mr. Rochester put his hand on my arm.
Thanks, Sophia. Mr. Rochester and the action put is starting the main sentence. What did Mr. Rochester put? His hand. Where is his hand? On my arm. Sophia, why the face on my arm? It's about the yellow. And what kinds of face is it?
This phrase composites by a preposition, on, and a noun, my arm, so it's a prepositional phrase, telling more about the position of his hand. If the sentence drops this part, the meaning will be different, so it's an essential part of the sentence. I think it's a border yellow. Am I right?
Thanks so much. Very clear explanation, Sophia. So tell Uncle Stanley, with a blue, red, blue, and a border yellow, what sentence pattern should it be?
It should be a pattern number 5, isn't it, Uncle Stanley?
Bingo. It is a pattern number 5. Very good, Sophia. Move to question number 3. Sophia, could you please read this sentence for us?
No problem. Listen, everyone. While I waited for you in the attic, I heard something in the next room.
There are 2 parts in this sentence. While I waited for you in the attic, and I heard something in the next room. Which one of them is the main sentence, Sophia?
I heard something in the next room is the main part.
Very good. The second part, I heard something in the next room, is the main sentence. And the first blue and the red, it's I heard. What do you heard? Something. So something is another blue.
In the next room is a prepositional phrase modifies the blue word, something. However, it isn't an essential element inside the sentence, as it doesn't change its meaning, even we drop it.
Very good, Sophia. This part is a solid yellow, telling you more about something. Then how about the part while I waited for you in the attic? What is it, Sophia?
This is a clause, as it's a complete sentence. It modifies the red part, heard. So it should be an adverb. Then, I think it's an adverbial clause, a green color.
Very good, Sophia. This whole part is a complete sentence, function as an adverb, and it's telling you what time you heard something. So, you're right, it is an adverb. Very clear explanation. So, with the main sentence, blue, red, blue, what sentence pattern should it be?
It should be pattern number 3.
Very good. It is pattern number 3. Alright, then we move on to question number 4. Sophia, could you please read this sentence for us?
No problem. Listen. He did not look at me as he spoke.
Sophia, the first part, he did not look at me, is the main sentence. Where is the first blue and the first red?
Thanks for asking, Uncle Stanley. The blue is the word he, and the red are the words did not look. Right.
Oh, Sophia, this time you're wrong. The first part is he, and the red part should be did not look at, because look at is a phrasal verb. And look at what? Look at me. You're right. How about the part as he spoke?
The part is a complete sentence modifying the red part. It's therefore an adverbial clause. I think I am so smart, Uncle Stanley.
Haha, you are so smart, Sophia. As he spoke is a clause, and as function as an adverb. So, it's an adverbial clause. Alright, we look back to the main sentence. He did not look at me. It's a blue, red, and blue pattern. Sophia, so what kinds of sentence pattern is it?
It's a pattern number 3, Uncle Stanley.
Very good. Before we move on to question number 5, Sophia, I want to ask you a question about question 3 and question 4. Both of these questions have an adverbial clause, but one of them is putting at the beginning of the sentence, but the other one is at the end of it. So what is the difference between these two positions of adverbial clause? What makes the difference?
Let me think. I guess that it must be the information in the adverbial clause is important. So we should put it at the beginning of a sentence, isn't it?
Exactly. Sophia, you're right. If we want to emphasize a sort of information to the reader, we usually put this in front of the sentence. So that's why you can see question number 3, the adverbial clause, will be putting at the beginning. So while I waited for you in the attic, show the importance of the time you heard something. Let's move on. Okay, now we take a look at question number 5. Sophia, could you please read this sentence for us?
Okay, listen. I will not be happy until he is back in the West Indies.
Very good. Sophia, again, these sentences have two parts. The first part, I will not be happy, and the second part, until he is back in the West Indies. Which one is the main sentence?
I think it should be, I will not be happy.
Very good. Alright, so if this is the main sentence, let's take a look at the first blue and the red. I and will not be is the beginning of this sentence, as the adjective happy is an essential part in the sentence. So it is about the yellow, and it is telling you more about the subject I. Telling you more about the blue color, obviously it's a yellow color. How about the part until he is back in the West Indies? What is it, Sophia?
This whole part is a complete sentence which modifies the yellow word, happy. Only adverbs could do so, and therefore it's an adverbial clause.
Very good, Sophia. So, with the main sentence, I will not be happy, a linking verb will not be is used. What sentence pattern is it?
It's a pattern 2, because of the linking verb will not be.
Very good. This sentence is a sentence pattern number 2, because of the linking verb will not be. Very good. Let's move on to question number 6. Alright, then we move to question number 6. Sophia, could you please read it for us again?
For sure, listen. But he might say something, without meaning to, which would do me great harm.
Thanks, Sophia. So, there are also two parts in this sentence. The first part is, but he might say something without meaning to. And the other part is, which could do me great harm. Which part is the main sentence?
The main part is, but he might say something without meaning to, right?
Very good, Sophia. This part is the main sentence, and it started with the blue color, he, and might say is the red. Might say what? Might say something. So something's and other blue. But how about the part without meaning to? Without, it's a preposition, and meaning is a gerund. So I think it's a prepositional phrase, as it is telling you more about something. So I think it's an adjective, which is a yellow. But this part of yellow is not an essential part in the sentence, so it's a solid yellow. Then how about which would do me great harm?
This part modifies the read part, so it's an adverb. As it is a complete sentence, it's a adverbial clause again.
Bingo, Sophia. The part which would do me great harm is an adverbial clause. And that is another question that I would like to ask you, Sophia. Question 4, question 5, and question number 6. All of these adverbial clauses are putting at the end of the sentence. But however, you can take a look at question number 6. Before the adverbial clause, why there is a comma in front of the clause? What is the reason for that?
Let me think about it seriously, Uncle Stanley. For question 6, if we do not have any comma, the adverbial clause will modify the prepositional phrase in front of it. With a comma, readers could clearly know that which part the clause is modifying. Am I right?
Very good, Sophia. That is the reason we put a comma in front of this adverbial clause. That's all for today. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.